Hello, Bill Fellows. Welcome to Tees Talks.
Thank you. Hello, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. It's
Good,
really
good,
good to
good,
have
good.
you on. I'm so proud that Tees Talks is just such a fledgling project for me. And out of anybody I could have thought of from this region, you're such a big name, Bill. And you were the first person to come on board and say that you would give your time. And I just think that's all to your credit. And, I really
No,
appreciate it.
thank you, no problem at all. I mean, it's a great title, Tees Talks. Great title. I like it. But
Thank
yeah, no,
you.
my pleasure, my pleasure.
No, that's great. So what Tees Talks is all about really is just to have a platform for people of Teesside to hear other people from Teesside stories to do with whether they've had a successful career or whether they've just had a really interesting career journey, and maybe just give a little bit of inspiration and possibly just for somebody to maybe hear your story and think, well, actually, I'm from where he's from, and there's no
Yeah,
reason I can't do what he's done. And if you can give
yeah.
any advice or just clarity around your story, so we can pick out some bits for the listeners. You're from Middlesbrough, I believe. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about your childhood?
Well, the childhood, yeah, it's a God, it's a long time now because I'm 66 now. I've just become a pensioner, so I'll get me pension. And wow, and sometimes you can't quite believe that you're that old. But no, I was born in right near Newport Bridge, Leven Street, which I can't remember much about. Right near the where the library is. There wasn't a library then, but I was mainly brought up in Mill Street. Mill Street is right near the Wreck area, and not far from Essen Park and the bridge.
Right.
So for me, that's my main childhood, really. And I remember, like, for example, in 1966, the World Cup, and where we all used to play on this wreck, there was loads of cars parked there. So, yeah, it wasn't a bad area, I don't think. But my main memories are very much about the river and very much about Newport Road, where I live. I would cross over that bridge to Durham in them days. So I was finding it fascinating. And when I was born a Yorkshireman, because that's what we were up to the River Tees.
Yeah.
And if you crossed over Newport Bridge, you ended up in Durham, which is kind of another world. That all sounds ridiculous now, but as a kid, you went, So yeah, I remember, and the river was, I'm afraid, then in the early 60s, dirty. It was all the chemical plants and all that. So it wasn't the most beautiful area. But yeah, that's where I was born. I'm very sort of, ironically, what I'm doing now, I'm in a regular in Coronation Street. It's exactly the same houses from the front.
Really? Yeah.
Exactly what they look like. Yeah. When I walked on set for the first time, it was kind of remarkable. Kind of slightly depressing, if I was honest, because it did take me back to those little tiny houses, those little tiny terraced houses.
So is that walking through the front door? You've got your living room straight away, and then you've got like a back room kitchen, and then
you had like you walk through. Yeah, tiny, wasn't it? You had like the front room, which was the best room. I don't quite know. No one was allowed in there unless someone died or something. And then you had a tiny little living room where you sat, and then a tiny kitchen, and then a few bedrooms upstairs. I mean, I know it sounds like really old-fashioned, but we didn't have a bathroom. I mean, like now, I tell my son, he's like, what? But we didn't have a proper bathroom till I was about 9 or 10. Yeah. So I remember being put in, and I can't remember for the life of me how we washed. I've got a feeling it was tin baths.
Yeah.
And
an outdoor. Outdoor.
Yeah, obviously an outside toilet, which my dad would cut up newspapers. I mean, it's ridiculous when I think back now. Yeah. It feels like another world.
Yeah, the world's changed so much in environments and everything. There's nothing we can't get now.
No, but yeah, you're right. But the main thing, I think, is that period. I thought everyone lived like that because that was where, we didn't have a car, so we never traveled that much. So I was that's what life was like, these little streets near me in that area and stuff. Yeah. And it wasn't until I went to, we'll come on to, I used to go the kids thing Saturday mornings, Middlesbrough Little Theatre. And when I first went there, I couldn't believe how nice it was. Like there was trees. And like Linthorpe, and Linthorpe, them days, and it was like trees and big houses, and blew my mind, man. You know what I mean?
And that's no further than like a mile and a half from where.
Mile two, used to walk there. Yeah, I used to walk there. Yeah, this is when I was. Yeah, it was early days. I mean, I think you just walk in there and just seeing these houses close up. I used to get the bus to school but that was, on the main road, so we never actually explored. But again, it seems silly now. It seemed like a million, like I was brought up in some Victorian workhouse, which I wasn't, but it wasn't far removed compared to what people have now. I don't think people do live like that now, unless sadly you're homeless or something. But we just took it as it was a normal life,
And so going to the Middlesbrough Little Theatre, which obviously a lot of people will know from this area, you started doing that about what age was that then, Bill?
Oh, I was at secondary modern school. I was thrown out of a French lesson and put in this other lesson, which was called, again, another remarkable name, How to Be a Gentleman. And that's absolutely true. And it was run by a tough teacher called Bert Woolley. Right. And Bert Woolley realised I was a little bit interested in something. And he said to this guy, Mickey Wilson, he's still around, it was called the Little Theatre. Said, "Oh, why bring little Billy? He's interested." So that's how I went. So he just took me there one Saturday morning, right? And if I hadn't been thrown out of that French class, I wonder what would have happened. Yeah, I mean, so that's how I got involved in that. And of course, as soon as I went there that morning, it was brilliant because it was make believe, wasn't it? So I thought it was make believe, and there was lots of other people there, and I remember being struck quite early on how I loved the fantasy world of this imagination world. So through that, we got involved. That's how I kind of started getting involved in that world. But it wasn't serious. It was just like a group of kids putting on shows. A guy called Dennis McMahon also ran it. And he had McMahon the Gross, I think was, that's where he came from. But they facilitated this place where young kids could go. And I think it was like threepence or sixpence or something like that. I can't remember what it was now. But someone got the money from that man,
That opened the door for you to move into acting. But even though that opportunity was there, it wasn't like in the front of your mind, wow, this is going to open up my world to this. It was just you enjoying it in the moment.
Just enjoying it in the moment. There was no talk. No one ever talked about things like drama school or anything like that. No one even talked about being an actor, really. It wasn't in our minds to make it a profession. Yeah. It was just an enjoyable, being a part of the art world and being in shows and dressing up and make-believe world. You know what I mean? It wasn't until a lot later that someone mentioned drama school to me, which I didn't know much about, that I got involved in that more professionally. But for a long time, I was just doing it for the fun of it,
And so when did that transition come then, Bill, where somebody mentioned drama school, and can you remember, did your ears prick up and think, hang on, what's this? Or,
I can remember it really, really well. I from the Little Theatre, then I ended up going to a thing called Grangetown Boys Club, which Bert Woolley ran. Right. And I was obviously in Grangetown, and that was more like adult, not adult, but young people theatre. So I started doing a lot of that, which I quite enjoyed. And at the time, I was out of work then, so I was on the dole and everything. And then I kind of stopped going a little bit, didn't do that much. And then again, life is full of fate and fortune. And I went to one of the lads' birthdays, Gordon Steele, who actually became a writer from the area, Gordon Steele. Okay. He was a bank clerk at the time. So I went to his party, and another guy who I'm still in touch with, who was at Grangetown Boys Club, turned up at the party, and we were chatting away, called David Evans, and he just said, I'm off to go for drama school because I'm training to be a drama teacher. And I said, oh, wow, okay. And I hadn't seen him for a while. And I remember it really well. I said, what's a drama school? I didn't even know much about it. And he said, oh, yeah, man, it's good. And then he meant the mortal word, said, what are you doing now? And I said, I'm on the door. And he said, you weren't a bad little lad. You should have a go at this, man. Why don't you apply for an audition? And I said, well, how do you do that? And he said, oh, I'll help you. I'll get a form for you. And he got me this form. And I mean, this is how lucky everything is. But I filled the form in, I sent it off, and I got an audition. And obviously panicked then, thinking what I would do. And I got Bert and a few people to help me with a few speeches. I don't think anyone thought I would ever get in. Not even myself, you know what I mean? Thought, well, but why not? I have nothing to lose, which...
Yeah, why not? It's got to be somebody.
It's a very important thing in life. It's easier when you've got nothing to lose. It's kind of easier, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I went, and remarkably, I got in. It's just kind of, I think everyone was gobsmacked. I think even Bill Woolley went, wow, so, but I do remember this. When I went, sorry, the most important thing I remember about this is that So I didn't know what I was doing. I got the overnight bus to Guildford. I mean, on my own, and couldn't sleep anyway. But I do remember distinctly, as I put my hand on a handle, I know it sounds ridiculous, to go into the audition. I remember thinking this is really important. And actually, if I don't get this, if I don't get an E, I'm going to try other places. Because I just thought, oh, wow. And then, like I said, look, I got in.
Oh, that's
fantastic. And
fantastic.
in them days, it really helped. It really helped being a working class lad, because the council would give you money. I think that was part of it as well. They probably thought, well, he's a working class lad from an area up north. He's going to get a grant, which I did get a grant. So that's unheard of now, unfortunately. But at the time, there aren't many people wanting to go to drama school from Middlesbrough in 1977, 78.
Also, that's how you got to Guildford. There was a grant, and that sort of financed you into it. And of course, you say it's luck, but you've got to fill in those forms. You've got to put your hand on the door, and you've got to you've got to move your feet forward into those opportunities, because they don't come to you really. Well, sometimes they do for people, but not very often. You've got to go chasing them, haven't you?
Well, it's like accidentally meeting the right people at the right time.
Yeah.
And again, if Dave Evans hadn't said anything, maybe I would never ever have gone. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I would have done a year's time. But it's just meeting someone who puts that idea into your head. But you're right. You're absolutely right. I mean, I say this to my son all the time. You need talent. That's the most important. You've got to be good. You can't. Let's not pretend that. You've got to be good. Right. But then there's a lot of good people who don't work. So you need luck as well. So you've got to have talent and luck and resilience and patience. There's a lot of things you need. But you certainly.
I was going to ask you that, what virtues and what skills do you need to have as a person that are beneficial in the industry? But you've just said patience, talent, but talent obviously is the main thing, and you can't hide if you haven't got any talent.
Eventually, if you haven't got talent or ability, you will get caught out eventually. You can be lucky and get things. But I think the most important thing you need, which is the wonderful irony of being an actor, you need to be really sensitive as a person to understand characters, but you need to be absolutely rock hard as nails to cope with all the rejections.
Right.
And there's loads of rejections you get all the time. So all of a sudden you're faced with rejection. You've got to be able to handle that. And I have to say, if you can't handle that, you've got problems.
And it's not for you.
It's not for you.
So, no. And what would your advice be around that, Bill? Would you just say, don't take it personally? If you are somebody that's quite sensitive and take it to heart, what advice would you give somebody to get over that, to become harder with it? Would you say, don't take it personally? Maybe your face just didn't fit on the day, or that wasn't what they were looking for.
Well, I know for definite. First of all, yes, you're right. You don't take it personally, because I've actually been on the other side sometimes and watched, being part of the auditioning process, where I'm helping the cat read in, so helping to cast someone, and 3 or 4, 5 people have come in, and they're all excellent. But one of them just suits the part a little bit more. Just got that right look, the right nose, it's that fragile. So, well, yeah, you're right. So you've missed out, but you've not missed out because you're not good enough. You missed out because the look wasn't right, or etc., etc. But it's hard, isn't it? I mean, it's hard any walk of life. I mean, people in real life get rejected in love in all sorts of ways in their lives. But with acting, it happens on a regular basis. So how you get over that, I don't know. You just got to be
resilient.
You've got to take it on the chin, man, and just get on with it, and believe in yourself. Obviously, you've got to believe in yourself, That's what,
And when you said about, you had your hand on the door, that's a really great image to have in people's minds, is the fact that you'd already decided for yourself, I've got the hand on the door, but if I don't get this, I'm going to continue and keep going. I think that's a really strong visual for people to
that's why I remember it so well. That's why I remember that image, because I just remember that image really, really well. I don't quite know why I felt like that. I don't know why. Maybe because I've been in the room talking to other people. I remember there was people from all sorts of walks of life as well, especially in Guildford. There were people, with money, quite posh accents, all that business. A lot of beautiful girls as well. That was another incentive,
There's probably a few stories there.
Still full of beautiful people, it's that kind of. But there was it was. That's why I've kept that image in my head, because I remember it really, really well. And you're right. I thought, I might not get this, but I kind of know what direction I want to try to go in. All of a sudden, I found something. I'm going to really try. Now, in the end, I might have failed. I get that, but it was a lovely feeling. Think, no, I found this. See if this doesn't work today, let's keep on trying. Eventually, maybe I would have given it, but you know.
And then from Guildford, you know, how did you then find work? Was it a lot more luck and people that you spoke to, or, you know, because I know you've worked in theatre, TV and film.
Yeah.
What came first in your career?
Well, luckily for me, both came quite quickly. So my day was different from it is now. You needed an equity card, was very important. It's not like now where basically anyone can do anything, you know, because the union laws have changed. In my day, you had to get an equity card from a theatre. Now, luckily, a theatre local area. Again, you could say this is an incredible bit of luck, considering there's not many Northerners at drama school at this point. There's the local theatre, Farnham. We're doing Kes of all places.
Yeah.
So when someone came to see the shows at drama school, they knew I was Northerner. I looked quite young at the time, so I ended up being in Kes, not playing the lead part, but one of the lads, and that entitled me to an equity card. So once I got my equity card, then I got an agent. Very, very early on in the first year or two, I did an advert for television. I did Silas Marner. So I did 3 televisions very early on, and that was great because, again, I was allowed to be in that world. So when people, it's that typical world, is we go, well, you know, you want to be on TV, but you haven't got enough experience. Well, how do you get experience?
Yeah, there's that roundabout, isn't there?
Yeah, a lot of people getting that roundabout. Well, luckily, I just got in very quickly.
Yeah, got it under your belt.
Yeah, so that was a great start, you know. And I did this advert, which is still on the line somewhere, Top Deck Shandy, which was I was flown to America to do it, like just a northern guy on a beach, you know. But what that did as well, it gave me enough money. I mean, small amount of money, but enough money that I give me a little start. So I never started off in debt. I started off with a little bit of money, and that's again important. A mixture of talent and luck. Just got the right start at the right time, you know, that first couple of years.
That's brilliant. And so you've worked on the West End, you've done loads of things on the TV that everyone will have seen, some of them Vera, Broadchurch, Downton Abbey, Alan Partridge, and I say most recently, but you're starring in Coronation Street and have been for quite a long time, and that's ongoing. But Ted Lasso, how's that changed your life for you, Bill? Has it changed your life? For recognition in the street?
Not probably. I mean, a lot of people watch it. A lot of people love it. It hasn't changed my life in the way I'm doing other stuff because I'm contracted to Coronation Street, so I can't do anything else. So I couldn't get to America. So though weirdly, there's a possibility of me getting an American manager through Ted Lasso, which is, we'll see. They're interested. That is something I might pursue. But no, it was just what it has given me was the joy of being in something that actually it will be remembered as a classic. You know, it's like a joy to be part of. It was a really interesting part I had, that was being in something that's a worldwide hit. I mean, weirdly in England, even though a lot of people watch it, not a lot of people have the Apple app, but in America, around the world, everyone's got it. So a lot of things from America around the world. But yeah, if I go anywhere where there's some Americans there, that I can tell you now, they will come up to me and speak to me about. They have no idea about Coronation Street.
No.
So I'm having 2 conversations. One was something about Coronation, one was something about Ted Lasso. But it was just a wonderful thing to be part of.
I can only see this much of you. You haven't got your short shorts on, have you? You haven't got George's short shorts.
No, I haven't actually. No. He was famous for that and for Liam and Nord. You know exactly. Yeah, his character. Yeah, but when you think about that, it always made me laugh, this story, because I wore tight shorts, right? That was from the 70s.
Yeah.
But then part of the joke was, in the very first episode of the last where his testicles dropped out or whatever. Well, it's impossible because the shorts are tight, but
they're not going anywhere.
Yeah, they're not going anywhere. But again, it was a good joke and a good fun. But no one scientifically or logically thinks about that, because if they were loose shorts, yes, but they were really tight. So but you know,
But
people remember it really well.
I know. And then, so when you look at something like Ted Lasso, you've done comedy before, obviously, when you were in Alan Partridge with Steve Coogan, and that's fantastic sketches you were in there. But with the ensemble cast of Ted Lasso, it's like a dramatic comedy, isn't it, really? But, you know, how was that being in an ensemble cast where, you know, the feel of it's very joyous, uplifting with that comedic edge to it? Was it enjoyable, as enjoyable as it felt for the audience?
Yeah, but the thing is about my character, which is difficult because I only ever met Jason and that crowd twice. This was on the very first day, when I got the sack, and the very last day when I'm managing West Ham.
Yeah.
Most of the time, I'm in Sky at Sky Gillette Soccer Special, and to film there, it's very strict. Only the people there, Jeff Stelling, the presenters, because we filmed on their set, in their office. So it was like a guerrilla filmmaking unit where the director, me, the wardrobe and makeup went there. We were the only people allowed in there.
Yeah.
So I think I met, for example, the guy Brett who plays Roy Kent, twice in my life, 3 times in my life, or some of them I never met at all till the last thing. Because it was a read through. I met Jason. Then was the day when I got sacked, you know, that when Hannah Waddingham sacked me. And then the final day. So people think I'm really part of the ensemble. I am when you watch it filmed, but filming it, not at all. It was all separated.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's really interesting. And so with all of the series and films you've been in, is there anybody who's like a household name that you would say stands out in your mind as someone that's very generous, as another actor that you've worked with, or you know, just has such fantastic qualities you'd really want to give them a shout out?
Well, the main person, sadly, he died a while back now, is when I was younger, I did a series called Flying Lady, which was in the late 80s. And that was with Frank Windsor. Now, the younger population won't know him, but he was very famous at the time. He was in Z Cars, Softly, Softly, and all that world. Yeah. So he was very, very generous. And another great actor I worked with, Don Henderson, sadly died as well. He was in Boltman. So they were great people. So they kind of really helped me navigate this tricky world and with agents and all that. And I try to do that now. I try to, with younger actors in Corrie or whatever, I try to be open to any advice or wisdom that they want. I mean, there's not much wisdom actually to be in the end. You've got to just work really hard and be good, and also take the punches. You know, and it's.
I mean, I think still, unless you go into college and you're thinking about the sort of things your tutors are telling you about acting and stuff, like getting. You said about the equity card, but these days, I think, as far as I know, you got to get credits. But you've got to get credits, don't you, to start on certain things. And I think you can't get credits if you're just an SA as supporting actor.
No, that's right. But being extra is a different thing. I mean, I personally wouldn't advise, if you want to be an extra or SA, then that's great. Yeah. I think to think that being an SA into that world, it doesn't really happen that much. Do you know what I mean? But you're right. I mean, the most important thing, you know, I've had all this experience is well, you got a choice. The most important thing is get the best agent you can. Now, sometimes it's really hard to do that, but that's really massive.
How do you get an agent? How would you get an agent, Bill? Sorry to stop you mid-flow.
No. It's very hard. Well, my son started acting, so it's a similar thing. I mean, you've got to write to them. If you've got a few contacts, maybe, but mainly you've got to write to them. You know, and if you go to drama school, obviously they will help you a little bit as you're leaving. But if you don't go to drama school, you've just got to find out agents, you know, names and just write to them in the hope. Now the chances are really slim. I'll be honest with you. It's really, really hard to do that. But you might be lucky. And the other thing is, which is again, everyone said it, try to create your own work. Try to film stuff with yourself, do your own things if you can. Not all of us are like that. I'm not like that. I'm not one of those people. But what I'm very good at is supporting someone who does. Right. So look, I'm doing this little thing. Would you be part of it? And I go, yeah. I'm terrible. I'm a terrible organizer. So the idea of producing would drive me mad. But if someone, you know, I will try to help people and I'll turn up and do a short film and do stuff like that. But
am I right in saying that recently you've just been done a film called Seeing in our area with James Campbell, is it?
that's right, yeah. Well, I worked with James before,
Right.
and he wrote this little script, and he which I really liked, and he talked to me about it, and I said, yeah, great, man, if you can get a budget.
Yeah.
But then luckily, there's with this Teesside Film Festival with Michael Luke, who you should talk to. They're having this brilliant thing, I think, a scheme where they're going to choose a film every year, short film, and give £3,000 to make that film. So James was the first recipient of that. So he got that money to make the short film. It wasn't a competition this time. They just wanted to get it going. But the next time, the next one in October, they're accepting submissions, and then they will give the person £3,000 to make a film, which is brilliant.
Actually, he's just Michael's just launched that today. Actually, I saw that come up on social media,
right.
so that's really good timing for that one.
There's a few things I'm involved in. There's another film I'm involved in with Trish Ward, which could be really good, and she's originally from Middlesbrough. But as all these things, it's about getting the green light, which is the money to progress. So that's the really hard part, getting money, man, But it's possible. It's possible.
Yeah, and I think there are some great things happening in the area. I think we spoke before this call in terms of how things are changing, and there is developments in the northeast. Like we've got Northeast Screen, which have been up and running just over a year now, which are helping with funding towards creative film and TV, which is fantastic. But I think we were saying there's a long way to go, and it needs a lot of support, and people who are trying the best independently, like you said, making their own content, they need support to get the voice out there, don't they, really?
Well, they do, really. I mean, there's two ways. You can have green screens and you've got studios and you invite people in, but also it would be nice for people to create their own content in Teesside or whatever and film it. And it belongs to Teesside. I'm in something called Lore, Lore, which is a Fright Fest shortly, and that's done by a company called Sky and Sea Pictures, which is Hartlepool. Adam, is doing it. So there are people doing it. So again, they've got to raise the money. Getting the money is the most important thing. And it seems like loads of people have got some great ideas and make some good stuff, but they need the support financially. Is what you need to do it, and then bring people back. I think there are a few things happening. I think there's a possible BBC sitcom, which I've heard talked about, which I might make a pilot for. So you're right, all of a sudden there's a lot more interest. And I think, unlike in the past, Teesside's part of that, because Teesside has always been a place, well, where does it belong? You got Newcastle and Sunderland, and then you got York and Leeds, and we were always trapped in this middle ground, not knowing where we belong. But I think now we're part of Tyne Tees, and it's established now. So I think a lot more recognition for Teesside is happening.
That's great. So when you move, can I just go back to when you talked about you got on the bus and you went to Guildford
overnight?
Yeah, so the overnight. So once you left Teesside, was that it then? I mean, like you said, you've got so many links, and your family is still from around here and everything. So you're coming back, and you've got a great affinity with the area. But once you left, was that the last time that you've personally had a base here?
Well, kind of. Except I lived with my sister for a long time, and I always had like a little annex at her house. So it was really lovely to come back to. And yes, it worked when that period, you got to remember in the 80s especially, it was very London centric. Everything was down. Now it's totally different now. I think you can live anywhere you want really now. But at the time, people like me and Mark Benton, who was a good friend of mine, we had to live down there. We didn't really have any choice. And because of that, we established families and kids and our lives. So our lives did become down there. But what me and Mark and Liz Carling as well, a good friend, have always had in common, if we had the chance to work up there, we'd always take that chance. If it was a choice, we'd always say, well, this is from Teesside, let's be part of that. So we kind of have this lovely romantic nostalgia about Middlesbrough and Teesside. I mean, like I said, I was there last weekend, and I'll be there in August, and I still come back, and I've still got friends there. I live actually not far from Mark Benton, weirdly, in the place near Hastings. Is near Hastings I live. So I've ended up there, and you end up there through all sorts of things, children, ex-wives, you know, that world. And somehow you end up in this place, which is lovely, by the sea, and weirdly very, very arty. In St. Leonard's especially, you've got great directors living there, actors living there, people are making films there. It's a really little thriving little place. And it's for people all over the country. It's not just, that's what I like about it. It's people from everywhere live on. It's the sea. The sea has attracted people, you know. But, you know, I mean, actors are generally gypsies anyway. We are circus people to a certain extent. You know what I mean? We go where the work is, and you know, people tour around the country. That's never going to change. I got close a couple of times in the past to buying a place in Yarmouth. Just a couple of times. I hankered after it, and I thought, you know, should have come back. But then, ultimately, for me, my son, who's 24 now, he's basically a Londoner, really. My son. So that's kind of my big decision to be down there more. Because obviously,
well, then buy a house in Yarm. You could be my neighbour. Well,
yeah. I would never rule it out. I'd never rule it out. But someone said to me once, elephants, like when they go back to where they were born to die.
Oh God!
I know that's but so I think to myself, maybe I'm going to go back and die back where I'm from, because that is my home. You know, my heart and my home. Spiritually is Middlesbrough, it's Newport, it's that world, for good and bad. I mean, I don't want to be nostalgic around it. What a wonderful place it was, living near the chemical works. It wasn't, do you know what I mean? But there was a terrible beauty about that kind of world, and you know, all my memories. And in fact, recently in Corrie, there's an episode where they still get confused in Corrie occasionally, the writers. They don't quite get the fact that it's Middlesbrough, Sunderland and Newcastle. They do think we're all Geordies.
They're all merging you.
Yeah. And so they wrote this song. I'm drunk in one scene, whatever, maudling. And then they've got me singing in the back, and the script arrived. They said, and he starts singing the Jarrow song, Alan Price. And I said, you know, you've established me in the script already, Middlesbrough. I said, I can't go back to Middlesbrough singing that Jarrow song. Anyway, so what would you sing? I said a Chris Rea song. So they got the rights. So now I sing drunkenly, by the way, Steel River.
Oh, and fantastic.
And I just thought, I made the writers laugh. I said, guys, you don't know. Newcastle and Middlesbrough, Sunderland would all stick together if we're taking on anyone else, but we're all separate. And it made them laugh and stuff. And
I'm pleased that you've got the oomph to be able to say to your writers, actually, no, I can't sing the Jarrow song because it's not the fit. So something I was interested in, and obviously it's a little bit personal talking about money, Bill, but I know it's...
You're asking me for anything, I ain't got much. Sorry.
Please, sir. A lot of actors have to take other jobs as well as acting until they're fully established. From your point of view, you've made a career out of acting, so you know it is something where you can make a livable wage out of. Can you tell us a little bit about, you know, how that all pieces together for you in your experience?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing to say is that what now I've been an actor for so long, like 40 years. It's so different now than it was then, if you know what I mean. It's still just as hard. Don't get me wrong, it's still just as hard, but it's absolutely common and normal for other people to have jobs now. Maybe a long time ago, it wasn't. You did, but it was, you know, wasn't as normal. I think it was easy to make a living then. I think back then, because there was less actors to a certain extent. Right. So like I said to you earlier in the interview, I did this one advert, which got me enough money just to keep my head above water. And I never quite looked back from that. Right. I remember Frank Windsor saying to me, try, Bill, try. Don't get yourself in debt. Debt is the enemy of the actor, because then all of a sudden you can't take jobs. You say, well, I'd love to take that job, but it's not, I'm in so much debt. I'm going to have to do this normal job, because you don't want to be like that. So I would take fringe stuff and low paid stuff because I could afford to, because of the adverts to a certain extent. This is the visual ones and some of the television. So it's so different for different people. My experience is it was always a struggle. It's never not been a struggle. Right. Being an actor is never going to be easy. But I got a good start, and I always seem to not be in debt and be able to pay my way. And again, this sounds like what I'm about to say sounds like a bit derogatory to other people when I'm not. But a friend of mine recently said to me, Bill, at drama school, I still keep in touch. So do you remember when you left drama school, what you kind of said to me? And I said, no, what was it? He said, you would never do another job but related to acting. I went, did I say that? He said, yeah. But that's what you've done. Because as I've become like the bookends, like for me, it's a bookend 66 being a pensioner, or getting my pension. I'm not saying I'm still going to continue working, maybe in a different way, but it's like a bookend in my life. That was my kind of thing. So between leaving drama school and retiring, but I'm not. Actors don't retire. No,
you're not retiring.
But I've never done another job particularly, apart from, and I'll tell you this. Actually, there's a crazy job I did when I was at drama school, and I came back to Middlesbrough. And my what do they call him? Brother-in-law. That's right. Okay. He worked for the council, and he said to me, "Look, do you want a little job at Christmas, like being Father Christmas?" Remember, at this point, I'm 21 or 22, skinny little kid. You know what I mean?
You didn't have the white beard. You didn't look like Father Christmas at 21.
Now I can play it now, easy, no problem. but so, and I said, "Well, great, yeah, it's 25 quid or whatever it was," and oh man, it was a nightmare. It was a free thing in Thornaby town centre in little huts, and I was there as Father Christmas with mothers going, "You're not old enough to be Father Christmas," and then kids, like you give free sweets, like being completely out of order at one point. And then when I had been lunch, I remember one day I locked the door, and little kids outside were going, "He's in there, he's in there." They started rocking it, and then they tried to set fire to it. Kids got papers. Let's set fire to him. And so that was my, and that is an absolute true story. Thornaby, that tried to set me alight.
Hey, listen, I'm from Thornaby, Bill. That could have been me that was trying to set you alight.
And also, well, it could have been because it was actually 40 years ago. So, and you know what I mean? So, yeah, but it did try to set me. Well, it wanted me to come out, and we're going to try to burn me out so I could come out.
I might have sat on your knee. I was 10 years old in Thornaby.
Well, it's possible. Possible. I mean, yeah, you never know. But that was the job. But again, that does relate to acting. Yeah, that's what my brother-in-law said. Oh, maybe you could do this, and I thought it was ridiculous. I mean, with a white beard, I mean, like I said, I've grown into it now, but it was ridiculous. But it's worth it for that story, which is kids looking. He's in there. Let's get him. But burning me out. Though, where are the adults? Has anyone to stop these kids trying to set my hut on fire?
And you've done. You said you've done quite a lot of voiceover work. So for the listeners for Teeth Talks, it'd be great to hear. What that has been.
Well, I came to that quite late-ish in my life. So basically, voiceovers if you can get them, it's fantastic. They are changing now because AI is getting involved and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But again, something. When I think about this, it's a fortune. I did a play in Newcastle, Northern Stage. There was a guy in it called Stefan. Played he was a lot older than me, and we got on well in the play. It was the first ever Catherine Cookson called Katie Mulholland. This was before the televisions, first ever stage play. And basically, long story short, he was in it, posh bloke, whatever, playing this posh upper class character, and I was with Katie Mulholland, the young, the Geordie whippersnappers. And I saw it, and years later, it must be 10 years later, I'm walking down Shaftesbury Avenue, and I see he was coming towards. I said, "Oh, hey, Stan, what are you doing?" And he goes, "Yeah, what you do?" So I'm working, I'm doing this. I think it was in Blood Brothers at the time in the West End. So I was in the West End, was great. Loved that, loved doing that show. That was great. And he said, "All right, do you do any voiceovers?" I said, "Oh, what? No, not really." He said, "Well, I've got a voiceover agent. I'm acting. I'm doing this voiceover. Would you like to join?" I said, do the North East. So I joined him. When he finished, I joined this other company called Another Tongue, who were absolutely brilliant. So I got into voiceover agents, and again, in a fortuitous manner, through work, not through networking. We're just working with someone.
Just from a coincidence.
I like
him again.
You're good. What you're doing now. So that's how I kind of got involved, and what I've done, and I've been very, again, fortunate. And there's also, I've been doing it for a long time, but the big ones have been, I was the voice of Captain Birdseye for a long time, and I could have played him. In fact, my agent did say do you want to, or they did ask me, did I want to go forward for the part? I said, no, I don't want to be visual. I don't want to do it visually, but I'll do the voiceover. And then I did Santander for a long time, and they're quite very lucrative. I'm doing Ford at the moment, a lot of Ford vans at the moment.
Oh, great.
But the big one for Teessiders, we will know, will be for a long, long time. And I haven't done it for 10 years now, but there was a radio campaign for Frank's Factory Flooring.
Oh, yeah.
I love carpets, mate. I love carpets, mate. That was me. So I did that. So
give it the full whammy. Do it as you would.
I can't. No, I'm not going to give you the full whammy now. But yeah, no. But it's something I did for a long time, and I enjoyed it. And for a long time, people didn't know, and I loved it because it was kind of anarchic. The kids loved it. Yeah. It was like people were shouting at school. And a lot of people were writing in complaining about it as well, though. People complained about, he's so uncouth and all that. But yeah, I did that for a long time, and no one knew it was me. For years and years. I love carpets, mate.
Yeah, there you did it.
But you know, and we did it at Radio Tees for a long time, and it was Billy Maguire. And they're still doing it now. And then we did a few TV ones. They're still doing it now, but with not the same character. I think one of the shopkeepers say I love carpets, mate. But for a long time, for a long time, I thought, when I die, when I get buried, the Evening Gazette will say, Bill Fellows, the voice of this, you know. Then
the voice of Flooring.
Yeah, now I'll get Bill Fellows, Coronation Street, Ted Lasso when I die. But I always thought that's how I'm going to be remembered. You know what I mean? But you know, it's a bit of fun. It's a bit of fun, and I got paid. So this was paying me money so I could do plays which weren't very profitable, or I could survive easily. And it is that thing. And I say one thing, which is a sad thing. It is a lot easier for actors and people to survive if they are from a background or with money. And I'm not knocking them people, because sounds, you know, I think Tom Hiddleston's a good actor. And Bernard Cumberbatch, I understand all that, but you can't deny that when they go through tough times, they can rely maybe on families and savings and stuff like. So they keep going, so they can get through the tough times. But a lot of people from our backgrounds, unfortunately, kind of give up or take another job or whatever, and they kind of lose the way because they can't survive financially.
Maybe and responsibilities take over.
Responsibilities and stuff, and that's just the way it is. I think people get very bitter about things like that. I don't think they should, because that's just the way you were born. That's it. Yeah. I don't know how you would solve that problem. To be honest with you, I don't know how you would solve that. You know.
Yeah. And then balance, like life balance of working. Obviously it depends on what you're involved in. If you're in a West End show, then you might be continuously having to work. If you're working on a series, it might be shorter blocks of filming. So how has it affected your life? Do you kind of enjoy the times where you do have a bit of time off, or do you never have any time off, Bill? You're always working.
No. Well, you know, the best thing for an actor to be is to get a job. And it's the period of getting that job and starting it is beautiful, because you've got a couple of weeks where you can say to them, I'm doing this next, I'm doing that next, because that's always an awkward thing for an actor, especially when you're younger. You go to a party, so that's the other thing, and people are so curious about acting. They will always ask you what you're doing now. Always ask you. And it's great if you can say, well, I'm just about to start this great West End job, or I'm about to be on this television. But when you say, I've got nothing, you've got to take that. You know what I mean? That's just the way it is. But all those things. So the best period is always, like you said, is getting that phone call saying you got the job is wonderful. And before you start, then you've got to start and do the hard work. Yeah. But I have had gaps, but luckily not too many. And like I said, with the voiceovers, I've always been doing something. And with Corrie, it's great because it's quite a tough schedule. But you get weeks off or 3. There was Spotlight in Corrie goes on different characters. So at the moment, I'm filming quite a lot because there's a lot of spotlight on my character. But that I've noticed already the script that'll go off, and I'll have like 3 or 4 weeks off or 2 weeks off. So, but that's it's the insecurity of life in it. It must be. It's like going out with someone probably in the army where they disappear for a while. Yeah. But of course, at least they're getting paid. I think with actors, we never know each year what you're going to earn or what you're not going to earn. I mean, but on a positive note, I will say this. How many jobs in the world that you can have almost a better career as you've got older. I mean, the best. I mean, I've always worked and done well, but the last 6 years of my life have even been better than normal. So you can actually get old in our business.
In acting, is there ever a possibility to start off as an actor at that sort of age? You know, you've said you've sort of like, you've come in and it's continued, it's got better. Do you think there is any opportunities for, I know people like Alan Rickman started late and things like that, but that was still in his 30s and
still quite was in his late 20s.
Still younger than me.
Well, the world, well, I think anything is possible. I really do. So if you want to become an actor in your 60s, I think you can. It's going to be harder because you haven't built up the people. See, I've got a lot of people. I've worked with a lot of people. A lot of them, thank goodness, want to employ me again. Not everyone, but so you built all that up, and that's where you come from. Going to drama school, you know, I didn't go to RADA, but I wish I went to RADA when Ken Branagh was there, because Ken Branagh, when he left RADA for his film, employed a lot of the people he worked with at drama school.
He brought everyone with him.
Yeah, you know, they took people with him, and Renee, all them Shakespeare films, a lot of them were RADA actors he worked with at drama school. Yeah. So that's the only downside of that. But you know, again, it's possible. I think it's harder. You know, but in the end, who cares? Why not try?
Give it a go.
Because actually, give it a go. Because actually, no one cares in a nice way. No one cares. You know what I mean? You know, you go for it. Why not? And you know, but you've got to take responsibility for yourself. That's the most important thing.
People are so interested in themselves that the worry that you have about them looking at you and you're failing, they're not interested. They're interested in what's going on in their own lives, aren't they? So just go for it.
Just go for it. I mean, yeah, you're right. Most people worry about themselves and they don't, you know, in a nice way, they don't care so much. I mean, there will always be detractors. You're going to have that. I mean, in Corrie, they tell you, don't look at Twitter because there will be
tearing you down.
Of course, I mean, I don't mind. I read it, and I've got no, you know, I laugh at some of the things. But everyone gets it. Everyone. There's always a negativity which people want to give you. But I think that's everywhere. We get it more because we're a bit more high profile. Yeah. But I think you get that everywhere. And I think, you know, I know without getting heavy, you're a long time dead. So why not? But you know, it's better to try and fail than never try at all. All them cliches are so true. Yeah. Do you know? But I also appreciate how hard it is for people because, you know, sometimes I remember talking to Liz about this and Mark as well. You know, you never. Now I'm retired and where I am, it's not a problem. But there were times when you go, I don't. If you went back to Middlesbrough and you failed, that people will call you a failure because you've had to come back. It's actually ridiculous now looking back on it, but at the time you felt that. You know, you had to you had the balls to go away and do stuff, so you better. You know, it's a bit awkward because people do want you. Some people or some things, it's easy to be around. You know, for people go, well, you go and do that, and if you come back and you've done really well, the people will go, shit, maybe I should have done that. But if you go away and come back and fail, you go, well, you see, thank God I didn't do that.
Told you so. Yeah.
Told you so. Oh, thank God, more yourself. Thank God, I didn't waste my time. And it's easier for people to be around that because I think with success, people say you changed. I think that's absolute rubbish. People change around you. Yeah. You know, I don't think I've changed. But some people, sometimes, you know, when you come back from drama school and they try to teach you to speak properly. And the first time I came back, I said, "Yeah, I'm just going upstairs and have a bath." They go, "Oh, bath." You know, because they taught you how to do, you know, bath and all. That's the only change, you know what I mean? Yeah. So,
So whilst you're still alive, because of it, like you said, we went a bit dark. So whilst you're still alive, I noticed on your filmography that you've done a couple of directing gigs in 2021. Is that something you're looking at doing a little bit more? Is that, you know, that you're interested in, or are you just going to stay in the lane of being an actor, or are you wanting to?
Well, I want to know where you read that because I've never directed anything.
Have you not?
No, I don't think I've directed. I directed a play at
IMDb.
Yeah.
It says, fact check, it says you directed something called Between Worlds and Splinter.
No. So I didn't direct them. I didn't direct them. I helped produce them. I produced them.
I'm sure. It was probably my pre. Oh my God, Bill's coming on.
No.
Yeah,
I wouldn't.
it's
Would I direct? Yeah, I wouldn't mind. Maybe doing that. No, and even then, we didn't really produce them because we had very little money, so we kind of did it as a cooperative.
I see.
A group of the film, like sound bloke, and we all chipped in. So
Yeah.
then you get co-producers
Right.
because we were just there making it work. And both projects turned out really well. I mean, I think Kindred, which virtually did for no money, but we've got Jane Asher in it, Michael McKell. I think it's going to be on Amazon Prime very shortly, the next month or two. Yeah, it's good considering what it was made for. It's really good.
Oh,
And
well, even though my research sent
Yeah.
us off on a tangent that was incorrect, you've brought it in and told us about something else that we'd need to look out for on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, look out.
That's good. I meant to do that, Bill. I meant to.
No, I mean, you know, I did direct a play, a segment of a play at the Ark a long time ago. It was called The Dovecot then, I think.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. But like I think I said earlier, I'm really bad at organisation, stresses me out. So quite frankly, I like to be, someone picks me up in a car, takes me where we're filming, and then we talk about that, and I do the best I can. Then I get back in the car and I go home. Well, the poor director, when I have to edit it and look at it, put it all together. Do you know what I mean? That would, I think my skill is not necessary. But you know, I'm not ruling it out.
Yeah.
You know, I like actors. I like being around actors, and maybe I can offer my opinion on. But so everything's subjective anyway. Do you know what I mean? Who's to say who's right or wrong? You know, you're going to just do what you feel.
Yeah.
And then you've got to be very careful who you listen to. You know what I mean? It's like, what advice are you going to take? What advice are you not going to take? I mean, I have a theory, not a theory, but I kind of believe other people believe in different things, and I appreciate. I've got a feeling life's a bit of chaos. Do you know what I mean? You float around, you're not sure what's going on, and you bump into people, which takes you good directions, bad directions, all sorts of. I mean, I'll tell you an interesting story about the chaos thing. So there's a guy called, I can't remember his name now, Martin something. Anyway, long story short, he's a director, producer, and he is waiting for a mate to be on the tube at Tottenham Court Road. His mate rings and said he's had a bit of a disaster. He's going to be an hour late. So Martin, I know him, Martin. He lives from Darlington, and he then goes to his kind of producers, because he's a filmmaker, producer's office, people he knows, and he goes, "I'm just waiting for me, mate." He said, "All right, okay, come in, have a cup of tea." And then he goes, "See, I'm casting this thing, which is in Syria. This is before the war, Damascus. It's film, a good film and everything." And there was a picture lying there, and the producer says to Martin, "Yeah, I'm trying to cast this character here, and it's a real life character.
Yeah.
Tim Philby's dad, weirdly, in 1922. It's a true story about him being very close to the Saudis, very early Saudi kings." And he said, "That's weird, that picture. Goes, you know, it looks like a guy I know called Bill Fellows." And he went, "Does he? Yeah, look him up online." Well, let's have a look at your showreel. Anyway, long story short, I get offered this part, and I do go out to Syria, Damascus, like we said, just before the war, a bit nerve-wracking. But I was in the desert. I mean, it's a true story about his relationship with King Abdullah, and about that world. And I'm thinking, and as I was walking in the desert at one point, it was absolutely beautiful. I was thinking, man, they built forts, they built everything. And I've got all the gear on. I'm thinking, I'm a Borough lad, which I thought, I'm a Middlesbrough lad. And I thought, if his mate hadn't been late,
he wouldn't have gone in, and
he wouldn't have gone upstairs, and he wouldn't have seen the picture and had that conversation. So that my kind of belief, for good and bad, it could have turned out really badly as well. Let's not presume everything works out well. It's kind of chaos.
Yeah.
And the other thing I like to say about the young actors as well, about good luck and bad luck, you know, sometimes it can be good luck not getting the job, because you go for this great job, you don't get it, you're devastated, but guess what? You're available. And then all of a sudden, an even better job, which changes your life, comes in, and you get that. Now, if you'd have got the other job, you would not be available. So how can you legislate for that kind of madness and chaos?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Don't sit worrying about the job you didn't get because it maybe wasn't meant for you in the first place. It was meant to let you open up for something else.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible, isn't it? It's possible, but you've got to be free. I mean, I've had a couple of things with the Corrie which are really lovely, but I can't do. And I understand because I signed the contract, and that's fair enough. But who knows? So is that worrying about trying to control everything?
Yeah.
Forget it. Especially
Yeah,
in this business.
don't stress about things you can't control outside of your. What's next for you? Have you got any goals left for yourself within acting that you want to achieve before you retire? And are you ever planning on retiring, or are you just going to maybe do a little bit less?
Yeah, you know, that's a very good question, actually. I'm not too sure, but with Corrie, you never know. For example, I can't presume anything. I mean, I'm now in Coronation Street till next August.
Fantastic.
So that's for definite. Now, look, that's locked in. So I can't assume that they want me to stay or not. So until they ask me to stay or not stay, I won't know what I feel like. So the possibility I could be in Corrie for a few more years.
Yeah.
There are a couple of jobs which I've been offered, which if they get the money for, I would like to do some films and that. But as for retirement, I think when I use that word retirement, I think what I mean by that is I'm no longer, not that I ever was like that, but now I feel when I'm free, when I leave Corrie, I'm just going to enjoy myself, maybe try to see the world or whatever. And if people want me to work for them, if people think, oh, you know, offer me a part, I will consider it. But I'm not going to be like I was in the past. Right? Oh, me. What about me? And ringing up your agent. I don't want any more. I've done that now. You know, I've done all that. And never say never, but I don't particularly want to audition anymore. You know, I want to say, look, I've got my show reel. If you want me, great. If you don't, available. And
I get that.
You know, I mean, if you're going to behave like that, then you've got to take the consequences. The consequences might be that I might miss out on a lot of stuff, but I'm prepared to take those consequences. Yeah. So that's what I mean. I mean, I've done 40 years of like, you know, have an agent, changing agents, finding it, and I just want to go. It's all over, and I will just enjoy whatever comes my way, and maybe some great things might come my way. I mean, you know, I have friends who go, "No, man, you're going to do this, you're going to do that." And, I mean, I suppose the only ambition, if there was one ambition left, I would like to work in America. I have played in America for an American series when we filmed it in Budapest, but I've never been to LA, and I suppose now I'll just go over there for a bit of fun.
Yeah. Well, it was great. Couldn't you?
Why not? You know, you know, something like. I mean, coming from Teesside, this would be very difficult, but you could learn the accent. I'd love to have played a cowboy, you know, like a Western. I'd love to be in a Western. Of course, you know, a Borough Western is, but you know, I'm not born in that world, but I think I've got the look. I could do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I can totally see you in the Kevin Costner one that I can't remember the name of it now. Yellowstone. Yeah, I can imagine you in Yellowstone. Fantastic.
Yeah, I'd love to do something like that. Again, these are just fantasy dreams, which are nice fantasies to have. I won't cry about it on my deathbed if I don't do that, but
no.
I will actually, because I you know, I would say for myself now, it's my career when I was at drama school. It's better than I hoped, much better than I hoped, but not as good as I dreamed, because we all dream big. Hollywood, right? Yeah. So. That's great, and you know, who wouldn't? I mean, the chances are so minuscule now, but I'd love to be in a movie where
put it out there. Put it out there, Bill.
You never know, do you? Yeah,
you never know.
Yeah, you never know, and it's possible, and it's a bit like odds. Obviously, the older you get, a bit like you asked me about, can you be an actor at 60? Yes, of course you can. The odds, though, are failing are greater. It's just the odds.
Yeah,
but it's still a chance. So the odds now of doing that as you get older are slimmer, because that's just the way it is. That's just, you know, but there's also a chance, and I think it's great. So yeah, so but on the other hand, I mean, I'm not, you know, I might be Corrie till I'm 91, like Bill Roach.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, I doubt it, but you never know. Like, you know, I'm not predicting anything, but what I do know is that I'm ready to just to relax, you know, like go, if Corrie don't want me anymore, or I don't want to stay, I'll shake their hand and say thanks for a great time. God bless. You know, it's like everything gravy now. Do you know what I mean?
It's a great attitude to have now. With Tease Talks, when I've spoken to somebody very interesting, had a great career and a journey to share with everybody, who else from Teesside would you recommend or extend an introduction to Tease Talks to somebody that you know from Teesside that has also had a very interesting career?
I'm mainly mixing my industry. So the Teessiders that I know have done very well. It's people like a very close friend of mine, Mark Benton, obviously done well.
I know.
I'm Gordon Steele, who was a teacher for most of his life, but then wrote plays. And in fact, one of the plays he wrote was Dead Fish, which I was in at the Ark. It's still in my top 5 plays of my career.
Oh, wow.
It's a great play. Someone like him is very interesting to talk to. Liz Collings, another friend who comes from Longford Street in Middlesbrough and has had a career in the Goodnight Sweetheart. She does loads of voiceovers at the moment. She's in Hotel Portofino. So someone like that, I would definitely recommend. And of course, people like Michael Luke, and there's a new breed of people now, like Michael Luke, etc., who I feel have actually taken over the baton. Because we tried, you see, years ago, me and Gordon and a few other people did a thing called Lucky Town at the Dovecote, and we put these little plays on. It was really hard work. So it's nice to see now other people pushing. We pushed Teesside for quite a long time. Just it's really hard to do. You know what I mean? Because we don't have the theatres like Newcastle do. Newcastle 2, 3 theatre, York do, or Leeds do. It's been a place with no theatre, no repertory theatre.
I will get to meet you in person because you are coming along to this year's Tees International Film Festival. That I won a competition that Michael put out there for creating a presenter for one of the evenings, and I won.
Brilliant!
So I'll be there.
I haven't talked to you. I can imagine that. Well done, you. What are you presenting?
It's going to be law. I believe it's law anyway, which you're in. So
I am in. Absolutely,
that's going to be on the Friday night.
I've seen we're showing it in a couple of weeks in London, which I've been invited to in Leicester Square. I don't think I can make it, so that'll be the first time I'll see it. But,
fantastic! Yes, I'll be there.
Going back to why me and Mark Benton and Liz and everyone left the area, there was no opportunities. Now people are starting, like Michael and Adam, they're creating opportunities. There's talent. It's just there's no opportunities, is it? We're from an area which is very much steel workers and ICI stuff, that's how it started. The town. Now it's moving somewhere else. But if there's opportunities there are people who can fill those positions like yourself. But someone like Michael, I take my hat off to him. He's created that through his really own hard work. I mean, I don't know how he does it.
He's doing fantastic.
Absolutely. No, he's a star, really. And then equally, Adam, who you'll be interviewing for law, they got that film off the ground in Hartlepool, and I see. Weird. This is interesting. I don't consider myself as a creative. I don't think actors are creative. I think we're interpreters. Real creatives are the ones who start from a blank page, get it moving, whatever. I like Corrie. People say, I would love your character and cry. How did you create your characters? So I didn't create my character. No. The writers and the producers created it. And then they want the best actor for the job to carry it through. Then the writing changes as you do it. But I didn't create it.
It's a team effort, bringing it all together.
But someone has to stop, like Michael or whatever, or Adam or Gordon Steele or whatever. You have to stare at the blank page at first and go, right, what am I going to do?
There's a hell of a lot of passion. There's a lot of passion in the area that's coming up again. And like you said, you guys were trying to get that working back then.
Yeah, years ago.
There's a resurgence. So hopefully it'd be nice to be part of the team that's involved in that.
Yeah. I think when we talk about passion of the area, I think why we talk about our area a lot is because it hasn't been fulfilled yet. Well, there's a lot of passion everywhere else. There's passion in Manchester, there's passion, but a lot of that has been fulfilled. There's opportunities in Manchester and Liverpool and Newcastle and Leeds. We want the same opportunities in Teesside for that, because there are people who can do this. So let's not pretend that we're the only passionate people in England, because we're not. But
no.
It needs to be. We haven't had the chances that other people have had, and I think we'd all like to see more chances given to the Teesside region. That's what we want.
Well, thanks so much for coming on today, Bill, and talking to us about your experiences from starting out in Teesside and then being internationally renowned in your industry. There's been so many interesting stories and a bit of advice there, and I can see the mentorship that you're able to give people, and hopefully through Tees Talks we'll get that out there a little bit more to people in the region.